Hey there, I'm Michael J. Allen, and I'd like to welcome you to my somewhat refurbished writing office. What we're doing in here today is all about Guns of Underhill. Right now, Guns of Underhill 1, Fey West, which won the 2019 Imagine Award for Best Fantasy Novel, is part of a 6-book autographed paperback giveaway. One of those books I've already gushed about, Blood Ties by Quincy J. Allen. No relation, right? Um, awesome book. Awesome book. And there are others in there from authors I know and love that are fantastic people and even better writers. In addition to that, my publisher has actually put Fey West on sale in all the retailers where the ebook is available for only 99 cents. Now, that's exciting because the publisher likes money, and obviously they're a publisher, right? But they don't put the book on sale very often. So I want to make sure that everybody who can takes advantage of it. But maybe more than a giveaway and maybe more than on sale, Guns of Underhill should excite you because the sequel is coming. I've been working hard all year on Guns of Underhill 2, which still doesn't have a title, but I'll figure it out eventually. Guns of Underhill 2 takes us from the Wild West and the railroad, the Intercontinental Railroad, to the Far East, where we find Seamus McMurphy has been stranded, marooned, in China, of all places. And if that weren't bad enough, plot, right? So I'm going to read to you from an excerpt from Guns of Underhill 2, featuring Seamus McMurphy. I will warn you that this hasn't been professionally edited. It's unreleased. It's not available for anything. This is a rough draft, but I'm still very excited about it. I'm hoping that you'll leave me comments and questions below the video blog post so that your input can help me make it even better. It being the whole book, not just the scene. All right, without further ado, let's get to reading. I trudged down the corridor of terracotta warriors, feeling every bit the condemned dwarf marching to the gallows. The automatons collapsed the column behind me. They followed in orderly ranks. Clay boots sounded around me in sharp, unified steps that echoed oddly in the massive market cavern. Ahead of me, a temple lurked in an unlit grotto. Shifting to subterranean sight garnered me only the barest outlines. The closer my march brought me to the darkened temple, the more lopsided the echo grew. Despite the pressure at my back, I stopped just short of where the path continued between ornate jade and bronze dragon statues. Even feet from the statues, the details I should have been able to discern, even if they were a single piece of carved jade, didn't exist. My arms prickled, skin rippling with gooseflesh. That's damned odd. Something felt off, like more off than just suffering the gawking shoppers watching my every move. I turned my attention to the unmoving dragons, and someone walked over my grave. Terracotta on either side of me stomped one boot, pointing their weapons between the dragons. I rubbed the lurking agony burned into my shoulder and stepped between the statues. The world exploded with light and color. Both dragons turned toward me, long bronze whiskers twitching beneath flaring nostrils. They slithered off their plinths, sinuous bodies undulating to allow small legs purchase. A glance back showed the market dimmed, though not as deeply shadowed as the temple's skies. I turned back toward the temple. Golden beams and joists offset the stone, framing a sweeping tile roof held down by stone animals that matched those sacrificed during the calling. At first glance, the seamless stone building and its delicate ornamentation appeared to have been constructed by means of rammed earth, but as I drew closer, the truth became evident. The temple's stonework had been melted and shaped by magic. The whole temple was a single piece of stone. One dragon darted ahead of me before I could step onto the temple's stairway. Undulating and intricate jade scales wrapped across my intended course. The other slid onto the mossy green ground off the path. Not like they're giving me any choice. The moss carpet showed no sign of recent passage, but my feet still felt the slight rut depressed into the earth by countless feet. The deeper we went, the wilder the grotto became. Stalagmites joined stalactites. Crystal veins shot through both, illuminated by the greenish gold glow of bioluminescent moss. The path closed in as it rose. Silver light gleamed from far down the long passage. My escorts stopped outside the tunnel, bodies intertwined to block my escape. Maker's balls, this couldn't possibly get any worse. Normally, I'd avoid even thinking something which might tempt the fates, but there really was nothing worse than being summoned by Talithia. West's tormentor was one of the old ones, a fairy of such extreme power that she'd simply rewritten Archibald's memory with a dismissive wave of her hand. The old ones had once been the gods of the old world. Norse, Roman, Greek gods and goddesses had twisted humanity around their little fingers and played them like puppets. For centuries, humanity had served the old ones every capricious whim, before humanity caught on. West's people had only been the second wave of exiles driven to the New World by the Wizards' Council of Gaelic Britannia, before a desire to monopolize magical power in the Old World created a propaganda campaign that drove the Druids into the furious teeth of New World Fey. They'd exiled every Fey from Old World shores. My people and the elves, gnomes, and fairies, every being with magical blood down to the smallest pea-pod pixie, faced an angry mob backed by the most powerful wizards humanity could bring to bear. To say we were upset at having our ancestral homes stolen wasn't even on the same continent as our anger. Now we dwarves tend toward greater pragmatism than other Fey. We put the offense mostly in our back trail and built a new home. The elves and their ivory tower egos, on the other hand, still burned with a genocidal thirst for revenge. The old ones, though, they took their defeat so badly their fury made the high elves' response look like the tantrum of a petulant toddler, at least at first. Powerful as gods, yet driven from their homes by mere mortal humans, some said the old ones had become off balance, driven to the same kind of insanity our legends claim drove us from Underhill. Their rage seemed to have turned inward, and maybe even more frightening, the old ones stopped fighting one another. And here I am, strolling in for a meeting with Talithia, hands down the worst old one out there. The tunnel emptied out in an underground cavern filled with silvery blue light. Glowing crystals sparkled like stars in the ceiling above a floating moon shrouded in swirling flames of blue and silver. A tree dominated the rear of the cave, its outstretched limbs covered in pink five-petaled flowers. A matching light shined from deep beneath the tree's roots. Dappled light filtered through the branches to illuminate a wide star-dotted pool. One of the stars shot across the ceiling and darted into a stalactite. Not stars, pixies. I extended a palm in invitation, not to mention postpone reaching Talithia. It took some time, but eventually one of the shifting stars descended. I'd never seen a pixie quite like her. Ivory slippers tied with crisscrossing silver ribbon alighted on my hand. An ivory gown clothed her two legs, splitting to drape in Greek fashion over two conjoined torsos. Hello, little one. Ones? Dandelion fluff haloed a pair of beautiful smiles. Similar alto voices greeted me with unknown words as they settled. Dragonfly wings stilled, displaying two full-sized and two stunted wings on each torso's back. I don't understand, I admitted. They changed to the trading tongue. You smell funny, and you talk strange, and look stranger. The heads swiveled to look at one another. Each covered blushing faces with a hand and giggled. Their titters stopped with a sudden jerk of their heads. They shot toward the ceiling in a blazing blur of wings. The still waters rippled. Rippling became churning. A massive shadow blocked out the light beneath the tree's roots. Sweeping ivory horns slid from the water first, followed by shorter jade frills. Water sluiced down a shapely dragon head covered in blue-green scales. Single drops lingered on the tips of silver whiskers. Light reflected off the scales' edges with little rainbows like the inside of an abalone shell. Maker's hell. This can't be Talithia. What have I gotten into? More dragon rose from the water, foot by scaled, sinuous foot. Forelimbs emerged from the pool, tipped with razor-sharp eagle's talons. The beast stopped rising, folded arms across her chest, and glowered down with eyes that matched the moon floating above her. Hello, morsel. Her voice surrounded me, but didn't echo. The moment I realized she was in my head, I willed her out, even though I had no experience with having my mind invaded. Laughter slithered into my consciousness, preceding a voice both imperious and condescending. My sister was right. You are precious. What did Talithia say? It's impolite to break another's toys? Yes. The world swam. The grotto disappeared, replaced by a palatial chamber. Wooden floors rose 2 steps up a dais to a solid gold throne, flanked by intricately carved ivory pillars. Gold and silk banners hung between other such pillars, an ornate dragon embroidered in black and green threads on their faces. A delicate hand, heavy with jewelry, pushed aside a banner near the throne. One porcelain leg with the lightest blush of pink slid through the silk, ankles and thigh cuffed in gold and jade. Long legs rose to sumptuous hips. More gold and jade encircled her waist and neck, hanging just so to hint at the exquisite treasures beneath. Onyx silk framed her face, strands of platinum threading the hair which hung down to her ankles. My breath caught. Her body and allure hadn't been what stopped my breathing. They were weapons, as was her choice of face and body. The dragon's dwarven form matched the young woman I'd seen in the bath, my owner. The only difference beyond jewelry and her hair seemed a maturity that didn't wrinkle the old one's skin. You're an old one. A corner of her jade-dusted lips curled upward, parting for sultry words of doom. I am the oldest one. Longianzi, daughter of Shuishi. Oh, Maker's deepest hell. She sashayed forward and around me in a shark's lazy circle. Fingertips trailed along my suddenly naked torso. So, Seamus Sloane McMurphy, we meet at last. An odd tingle caressed my spine. I've heard a lot about you, Seamus Sloane McMurphy, and of course your friend Raphael. Honestly, though, Seamus Sloane McMurphy, I think I got the pick of the litter. The way she sounded out my name fluctuated each time, the last turning a caress into biting ants. What did West say about names? I couldn't bring to mind the tales West's mentor Halen had taught the half-elf gunslinger, but the slippery recollection made me uneasy. I eased back, trying to escape her orbit. I don't know what you're talking about, but I should probably get back to your slavery. She tapped a finger against her lips. Here I thought you'd be interested in freedom. I folded my arms, unwilling at the very least to act the mouse in her games. What do you want? Why did you bring me here? Her smile increased my unease. A smart dwarf. Pick of the litter, like I suspected. Yes, Seamus Sloane McMurphy, I do want something from you. Her newest use of my name prickled less than the last. She claimed to be the oldest one, which suggested she had more power than even West's Talithia. The cruelty of her kind filled countless horror stories. Being the target of any Old One's interest boded an ill far worse than slavery or even death. At the same time, her magic created the palace around me, imprisoning me in a cage of her will. She had me. West might have known a way to escape the place, but magic just wasn't something I'd been built to handle. The weight of the situation settled onto my shoulders brick by brick. There was no escape. All I'd wanted to do when I took the boatswain job on the Wavehammer was escape. Escape from my mistakes. Escape from that horrible little voice reciting my sins over and over. I'd murdered West's only family. Raphael West was the better man, truer and braver than any dwarf. Even though so many wanted him dead, he never gave up. West did the right thing no matter what he faced. Well, that's not true. I saw him use dark magic. Yes, my sister's machinations pushed Raphael over the edge. Her eyes blazed brighter. Task after task, blow after blow, she hammered Raphael into the shape she wanted. She put him through the crucible and quenched him in blood over and over. Now she has a weapon unlike any we've had at our disposal in an age. You can't really believe that. She radiated obscene pleasure. Oh, yes. I laughed. Wow, you really don't know West. All light dimmed and shadows slithered into view. Then Talithia will break him again and again until he serves her ends. You're underestimating West. Besides, he's already lost the only thing he ever cared about. The fairy brightened. You mean the gnome girl. Alexander. Madness bubbled from the old one's lips. Foolish child. Talithia has poor Raphael's love locked away just in case he needs breaking again. Alexander's alive? Now it's my turn, Longienzi said. Wait, what? I brought my hands up. Now hold on a second. West's a druid and a half-elf. He has magic I don't and can heal from damn near anything. There's no way I can be a weapon like West. You are Fey. And? Longienzi darkened. All Fey have magic. Seamus, Sloane, McMurphy. Not dwarves. We're strong and all live, but we have no magic. Can you not see where there is no light? She asked. Yeah, but that's not magic. Isn't it? She circled me once more. Seamus, Sloane, McMurphy. Have you never heard of dwarves capable of wielding divine power? A shiver went up my spine. Legends. There's no proof. Oh? Then who immolated the blood curse that went feral during the calling? That stopped my mouth, but sent my brain into overdrive. I thought through all the people I'd seen involved in the ritual. Dwarven priests and soldiers ran the calling with the help of a few ogres. I knew nothing about the blood cursed, but not one had been outside the troughs. There had been gnomes in the market, but none close by. Besides, gnomes only have little magics, nothing capable of what I'd seen. Fine, maybe the dwarves from here have magic, but not my kin. She canted her head, eyes boring into me. Where do you think your kin came from? Gaelic Britannia. And before that? No, I don't believe it. That's too big a stretch. Your roots are in these mountains, Seamus, Sloane, McMurphy. The sensation changed again, becoming a fire ant parade. Whatever she was searching for continued to elude her. Your kin used to serve me here in these lands, and they will again. No, you're full of shit. Even as the words escaped me, I recalled legends reinforced by West's comments. The old ones couldn't lie. Deceive, sure, they could twist the truth into curls so tangled they had to be hacked free, but they couldn't tell an outright falsehood. I tire of this. Leave me. Think on what I've told you. She turned her back on me, marching toward the curtains. When you return to Sai, you will seek knowledge of your magics from her. She pushed aside the banner and the world flipped upside down. I will summon you once more when the sight of you no longer tempts me to feast on your flesh morsel. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little excerpt from Guns of Underhill 2. I had to take a couple breaks in there, so you might notice a couple skips and jumps. And of course, Myth and Majesty decided to include barking to help the narrative along, but I've edited those out. Thanks again for listening, and go get yourself, entered for the possibility for the free paperbacks. And if you don't win, or even if you don't want to wait, get a copy of Fey West for 99 cents at any major retailer.